we are making baked ziti for two. It is the perfect Italian comfort food. This baked ziti is made with sausage, tomatoes, and lots of ooey gooey cheese. Now the best part about this recipe is it's a perfect amount for 2 to 4 people. And I've got a little secret. We're gonna sneak some veggies into this and no one's gonna know they're eating vegetables. All right, first of all, before we get started, let's talk about pasta. This recipe is called baked ziti, and you may be wondering what ziti is. Well, ziti is actually a shape of pasta. It's a tubular shaped pasta. We're not using ziti today because my grocery store doesn't have ziti, but we are going to use penne pasta, which is another tubular shaped pasta, okay? Or you could use rotini, something like that. You just want some good surface areas so that there's plenty of room for that sauce to hold on to. So I've cooked and boiled 4 ounces or 1.5 cups of penne pasta. And I did it just to al dente, and that means it's still a little bit firm. You don't want it too soft because it is going to continue to cook as the baked ziti bakes in the oven. So we are going to start with our meat. And today I am using ground Italian sausage. Now, for the ziti, you could use hamburger if you wanted. If you wanted something leaner, you could use some ground chicken or some ground turkey or even some ground pork. Any of them will work, but we like a nice mild or sweet Italian sausage. Okay, we're going to start by adding just a little bit of oil to our pan. Now, because I'm using sausage which has quite a bit of fat in it, I don't need as much oil. But if you're using a leaner meat, you'll need a little bit more oil. We're going to add in first just 1/4 cup of chopped onion. And let me grab a spoon. There we go. We're just going to saute that around till it just softens up a bit. And then we'll go ahead after we have that softened. All right, once our onions have softened up, we're going to go ahead and add in our sausage. And then I'm going to take this trusty little tool here. I'll link to it down below. I got it on Amazon. And this kind of just helps to break up your sausage, your hamburger. And then we're going to add in a teaspoon of garlic. And we'll just cook this until our sausage is cooked all the way through. Right, once our meat is cooked all the way through, we're going to add in our tomatoes. And today we are using crushed tomatoes. Now, if you don't have crushed tomatoes and only have, say, whole tomatoes, go ahead, put them in the blender and just pulse them a couple of times. You don't want to totally liquefy it so it's like tomato sauce. You still want some chunks of tomato in it, but you could use that instead. All right, so for our seasoning, we're going to use 1/2 teaspoon of basil and 1/2 teaspoon of Italian seasoning, and then also about 1/2 teaspoon of salt. All right, so we've let this simmer to most of the juices. The liquid has absorbed, and we have a nice thick sauce. And now, remember I promised you at the beginning we're going to add some veggies in and that nobody was ever going to know? All right, we're going to take some spinach. And I'm just going to take maybe a really large handful of spinach. You can put in as much as you want, but you don't want to overdo it so that people think they're eating spinach, right? And so we're just going to add that spinach in and stir it in until it wilts right into the sauce. All right, so I've taken it off the heat for now, and I'm going to take my pasta. Now, if your pasta's been sitting a little while, it's kind of like coagulated together, just run some water over it to loosen it up. So we'll add our pasta in, just give that a stir, and then we're going to add in our cheese. And I'm using 1 cup of mozzarella cheese. And we're going to use a little bit more, probably about another 1/4 cup on the top, because we want this nice and cheesy and gooey. Now, one of the reasons I love the small batch recipe is my recipe I used for years when I had kids at home for baked ziti, which you can find on my blog, and there's a link down below if you need a full-size version, fed about 12 people. And so with just 2 of us, that's way too much leftovers. I don't mind leftovers maybe one night, but that's about it. So that is the beauty of this small batch recipe. All right, so after we've got that all mixed together, make sure that pasta's all nice and coated, and that cheese should just melt right in there. We're going to take a small baking dish. This one's probably about 5 by 8. And I'm just going to take a little olive oil spray, just spray it because that cheese can kind of stick on there. And then we are going to just take all of this goodness. Oh, let me move there we go. And put it into our baking dish. Now, one of the things I love to serve this with is my Olive Garden Copycat breadsticks. So good with this. Or also the small batch 30-minute rolls are also another good one. I'll link to those up above. You might need to, you can push it down a little bit if you need to get it to fit all in your pan. I'm going to say this is about a 4-cup baking dish, give or take. You could use a loaf pan. A bread loaf pan would also work too. All right, we're going to add a little bit more cheese on. About 1/4 cup, or depending on how cheesy you like it. I like to have just a nice coating on top. So I'm probably using more than a quarter cup. And then we're gonna grab here some grated Parmesan cheese. And we get it open there. We're gonna maybe sprinkle a tablespoon or two on top. Okay, we're gonna put this into a 350-degree Fahrenheit oven for 20 minutes until it's nice and heated through and bubbly and that cheese is all melted. All right, our baked ziti for two is done. It smells amazing. The cheese is all melted. It is the perfect comfort food dinner for 2 to 4 people. So thanks for joining me in the kitchen today, and I'll see you in the next video.